Hi everyone, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys had some food already, right? Everyone had food, right? Okay, if not, throughout the meeting, you all can still get food. I think there's still a lot left. So welcome again today for our third in-game, in-person meetup for this year. Just a show of hands, who in this crowd have seen K-pop Demon Hunters? Well, a good crowd. Okay, so you recognize where this is coming from. Okay, I actually asked ChatGPT to redesign or reimagine four of us. Today only two of us because Phyllis is sick and Lucius is out of town. So it's just me and Wenbin. So basically they did this. I don't know why I'm a tank. Phyllis has a sword. Wenbin has a shotgun. Lucius, I think, also had a sword or something. Yeah. So this is like the few iterations that I did, which was very fun. So today, so before we start, if you're not in the WhatsApp community, I think most of you are, you can actually scan this QR code and get to the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp will be where we would kind of announce our upcoming events and share like links from Tableau that or resources that might be useful for you guys. Cool. So our co-lead Phyllis has created a very fun app that basically allows us, that asks you a couple of questions so that they can put you into the different data archetypes that are reimagined as the Singapore snack. So you have the rainbow kueh lapis, you have the jam biscuit, and so on and so forth. I'll go through that later. But if you have not done the survey, just scan the QR code, and once you're done, just come to me or Wenbin later. We have this little sticker that Phyllis designed as well for SG60. So it's just a little nice gift for you guys. So for today, we have 3 topics. The first one will be done by our guest speaker, Shouvik and Sam. They will talk about trust in data, data governance, and confidence in decision. And then Wenbin will take you guys through some design concepts, as well as some tips for IMVIS. And then I'll give a live demo. Hopefully my laptop doesn't crash. But I'll do geospatial analysis. I think geospatial analysis is something that is on the top of many people's mind in Singapore. Like you always want to do that, but there's a lot of restrictions and a lot of challenges that comes with it, especially in the public sector. You have security limitations. You can't actually connect to Mapbox. So I'll teach you how to use a base file. You still have to create like the base file, which I will share with you guys after the meetup. But once you have the base file, you can do any manipulations within Tableau itself, or you can create a separate Excel file of your own that is based off the base file, right? So without further ado, let us welcome Shouvik and Sam to give their presentation.
Okay. First of all, thanks, Louis, for giving us this opportunity. Before I start, I thought, I'll ask you guys a question, right? So please listen very carefully before you answer this question. If you believe that people in your organization trust data and insights that you build or you generate, please stand up. The mic is not working. No one. Wow. Nikki, not even you? No? Interesting. Sam is already standing. So good news is you are not alone. This is a problem across the data community, right? So there's a survey that was done by KPMG across the globe, and they found 6% people or organization, they actually don't trust their data and insights, right? So we are definitely not in the 40% crowd who trust, including myself, right? But the interesting thing is, to know this, actually no survey is required, okay? And I'm gonna give you 3 litmus tests which you can do in your organization, in your teams to figure it out, right? And if you have heard this, I want you to raise your hand, okay? If you have heard that in the last 3 months, when you have delivered a product or whenever you have done a demo, somebody going, that number is not correct? Raise your hand. Good. Somebody says, your data is wrong. Raise your hand. Right? And this is the ultimate one. When you hear this, you really think what you are doing with your life. Should you even be working in data? How do I download this in an Excel sheet? Anyone? Everyone, right? So see, we actually don't need the survey to understand that people have trust issues, so to say, with the data products that we deliver or with the dashboards that we deliver, right? Now, me, Sam, and Nikki, we work for the same team with the Standard Chartered Bank. We have the same problem, right? I joined the bank in 2023, and I was working on a very important product, for the leadership team, and I was very excited because it was my first project, right? So I wanted to make it a good, impression because it was my first, kind of program. So I went into, the first product demo, and we had the demo, and it was very nice, and we shared everything that we did. At the end of the day, we got the sign off. We wait for a week. No one used the product, right? So we did what we do. We gathered more user stories. We did more testing. We made sure that this time the requirement is documented properly and the definition of done is documented accurately. And we then did another product demo. Any guess what happened? No guess? No one used the product. And it happened for the third time. We really then thought that something is not working, right? And one of the things we found across other things that were not working is the fact it's not actually easy to trust the data that we share with people as insights. It's not easy to trust the insights. And the moment someone has a question about a particular metric or about a particular insights, they have to ask someone. And that someone has to ask someone else. That someone else has to ask someone else. Before they get the answer, you know what happens? Any guess? What happens before they get the answer? Anyone? No guess? Their question actually changes. That's why people don't trust. That's why they ask, how can I get the data in Excel extract? Because they then will do whatever they need to do to get to the answer that they're expecting, right? So we thought about it, and we felt, how can we change this? Because I myself, it's my 16 years in this career, in this corporate world, and I was just thinking that, okay, if I retire with this mark against my career, that all my life, whatever I have done, people don't trust, it's not a good thing, right? Think about it, it's not good. If you retire with that on your resume, that people actually didn't trust the stuff that you did, right? So we thought about what can be done. Yeah, so we thought about what can be done, and just to explain the idea, I'm just going to give you guys a kind of an example, like a personal example. So I, for a fact, I'm always trying to lose weight. I have been trying, I am trying, I'm going to try always, right? I think some of you guys could relate with me. But one of the challenges in losing weight is eating healthy, and it's a decision that we make. We need to eat healthy food, right? That helps you to maintain a good weight. So traditionally, and I mean, I've been in Singapore since 2013. So previously, when I let's say I went for a walk, I went for cycling, I went to the 7-Eleven to grab a 100 plus or some energy drink. I had to look behind the 100 plus to understand how much sugar was there, right? And guess what? Actually, I find out it's not too large here. Most of the times, you will find out that these metrics are given based on average caloric profile. I really don't know what that means. I am not average. Are you guys average? What does average means? Don't know, right? But all this changed. All this changed when NutriGrade was introduced, right? Now it's easy, right? No looking at stuff. Very simple. Look at your drink. People are having drinks on your tables, right? You know whether it's good, it's not good. Can you consume it? Right? It's your decision. The decision making has been so easy, and hence the trust on this caloric information has increased, right? So we thought, can we do something like this for our data products? Can we make it easier for people to trust the data and the insights that we deliver? So that's what we did. We have introduced a product. We call that a key mark. And it basically gives two indicators. It tells you on every product that we have whether someone looking at that product readily trusts the insights and the data behind that specific product, or they need to be aware about some of the data issues which might exist in that data product. And if they want to know what those data issues are, single click and they will know all the details. Next slide. So that's kind of the product. And we felt that this is a good way for us to build trust in our data products, right? So we could do something to empower our users and our community to better trust the products that we deliver, right? And we kind of compared this in terms of what we are doing today is kind of transformational. How data governance and data quality was traditionally done. So if your organizations have a data governance or a data quality team, anybody in their company have data governance team? No one has. Good. And I can tell you, even if there was, you will not know. Because generally, people don't want to talk with them because they ask you all difficult questions, right? So in a way, we are reimagining the value of good data governance program, good data quality, by bringing the data quality indicators right where decisions are made, right? Traditionally, all this was locked up in a data management tool, which is very difficult to access and can only be accessed by data governance professionals, right? So that's how we are reimagining it, and we have got fairly good feedback, not only from our users. We have shared this idea in other forums, in other communities as well. We have got really good feedback. Now with that, a good idea is nothing, right? It's just an idea. And in one of the forums, someone told me that a good idea is just theory until you implement it. But how do we implement it, right? And how does Tableau helps or powers the implementation of this idea? So for that, I'm going to hand over the mic to my coworker, my colleague, Sam, who's going to share in terms of how we do it and what role Tableau plays in this journey.
Hello. Right. Thank you, Shouvik, for that. Okay. Yeah. So before that, just wanted to share, this framework that we have built. Is this a bit familiar? Right. It's a high level. So we have the traditional platform, like we have the data governance, where all the data quality engine check has been done, and then typically we have dashboard for that, right? And then our product normally just consume data from its source, and then this is our product, right? Yep. So what we have done, like what Shouvik mentioned, is to put the keystone into our product. So now we have consumed data from our DQ engine, and then ingested into our data source in our dashboard, and then introduce this product. So with this, all users will have like key indication whether how they can trust the data that we have provided. So there'll be no other question like what's the quality of your data, and so on. Because to be honest, right, even we have this keystone dashboard, this DQ dashboard, no one really goes to that dashboard. Someone might probably develop it, publish it, and then forget about it, right? But even introducing the keystone in our product, right? We step one more step on that, right? Then we also empowered our user. From our dashboard, we build this we call golden thread, where it will bring the user to the keystone dashboard, our DQ dashboard, and then see what are the data elements that has been failure, and then they can do the remediation to correct those error, right? And then it's not stop with that. We go more further, right? And we all know that one data domain is not just one dashboard, right? Every user may have other requirements, and we don't want just show the whole, like probably you have 100 data elements, but probably only 5 are used in the specific dashboard, right? So what we did is that we created this key mark configuration where each product listed what are the critical data elements that has been used. Now we are sure that only those relevant data are shown and scored into that specific dashboard. Okay, so I will do a quick demo on how we do it. In this demo, I'm using the sample EU Superstore, right? Familiar, so I'm assuming everyone has been using this one. And these are the Tableau key features that we used. Now, my most favorite feature now is the dynamic zone, because I'm a very avid fan of tiled dashboard, right? Because I want it to be dynamic and user experience, right? So in this data source, we have 10,000 records. And then so just evaluating 5 critical data elements for this demo, and then build this 6 DQ rules, right? Very straightforward. Right, let me go ahead with the demo.
Yeah, you have to do this yourself, Sam.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't help.
Okay. Right. What's this? Okay, cool. All right, let me go to my dashboard. So before we start, I just want to share, of course, these are the 6 DQ rules that I have created, right, for 5 critical data elements, like checking the uniqueness of the product ID, the completeness, validity, and so on, right? And then, so I trust that this database is clean, right? So what I did, I just manipulate some data to have an error, run our DQ engine, and these are the results. So it shows what DQ rules it failed, which specific row, and then what's the value of that row that's being scored. Right, now, so once the data's been prepared, so there's no rocket science. You just utilizing the data. So as you can see here, we have the DQ source that is joined with our data source, and then yeah, with the DQ rules. All right, now sharing the dashboard itself. So if you're familiar with the super source dashboard, I just reuse it and then add some context. So as you can see on the right-hand side of the dashboard, so we have this icon showing the quality. So it's currently green, right? And then if you hover to the score, right, it shows how many data elements that it's been scored to, what are how many rules and the score. And then we also have this threshold. Like, of course, it depends on case-to-case basis, right? What's your agreement with your business users? So in this case, we have 80% threshold. That's why it's green. It's 97. But that's the overall score of the entire data set, right? So let's say, let me apply a quick filter. So the specific city. Just to show what happened. So now, with this specific location, yeah, the score went down to 70%. Now, anyone that's probably focusing in this city will know that we have some clearly like a data quality issue, right? So it's up to the business whether are still good using the data, or so it's up to them. It's freedom for the our user how they gonna use the data. Okay, let me go back quickly. Right. So as mentioned before, our use case is that the icon or the DQ stamp that we called should be like the golden trend going to the DQ dashboard itself. But for this demo, I just embed the data quality score within the dashboard. As you can see, we have all those 10,000 records, how many records has issues, right? And what are the errors that has been flagged on. So you have your all like DQ rules implemented. So you can probably select. By the way, interesting is that I found some data quality issue with the Superstore. If you're using it, I found that there are some duplicate product ID within the data source itself. So clearly that product ID should be unique, right? But interesting enough, I found this quality issue. You can also like trigger to what's that quality issue from your the dashboard itself. So as you can see here, that this product is tagged to this. So this ID is tagged to these two products. So then the user like, okay, then we need to correct this, right? So using also the Vis tooltip, right? It helps the user, trigger or see, what are, the issue that it's help them to like rectify the issue. Like another example is that, of course, you cannot dispatch the product before it's being ordered, right? Okay. Yep. So that's quickly how we empower user, to use our dashboard, trust them, and then ability for them to rectify in any data quality issue. All right. So questions so far? Are we good? Yes.
Who is responsible for describing the rules or the criteria for
Yeah.
whether the data team or your users feedback criteria to you?
Sure.
Good question. Yep. So
Hold on to that thought. We are going to address that question, but let us run through the other slides that we have because we have more for you guys.
Okay. All right. So let me go back. So with this, right? Actually, this one, cannot be done by silos, right? So all of this needs to be aligned and integrated with the data strategy team. So with that, I'll hand over back to Shouvik to give more details.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And if you're wondering, can we have access to the dashboard so you could do it yourself? Yes, you can. So we will share the public link with this community so you guys can see and maybe get some inspiration from there. All right.
Actually, I had first slide you showed that had stone frame,
Mm-hmm.
stone block, keymark frame, right?
Yes.
So the impression I get from the keystone block that data is going in, run some new quality.
Yes. Yes.
My impression is, but from the demonstration, it looks like the key mark is high.
That is the magic. It is alive.
Depends on how deep you go to it.
Yep.
At lower level, when the total amount of data shrinks, of course, then there's some error in that. It's that choke.
Yes. So I think
Key mark changes.
we will also share this slide with you, but if I could take you back to that diagram, we had something called a dynamic context mapper. So that's how we are very different in terms of traditionally how this thing is done. So let's say the scoring of the data happens based on the context of the data that the user has selected for a very specific insight.
Pre-scored and then who does that?
It is pre-scored, but how we aggregate and report depends upon what the user is selecting, right? There was a question on data governance and who makes the data rules. So I just want to re-emphasize that this doesn't happen in silo. You can't do it in silo. If you just replicate for one of your dashboard, not gonna work, right? You need a human-centered data strategy. And for us, that is to start at the start, right? What do I mean by start at the start? Everybody, I mean, again, everybody will tell data, right people at the right time. But you got to ask them the question, who asked the question, and what is the right question? Before you get the right data, how do you determine that the question is the right question? We don't. Then whatever data you give, how do you know is the right data, right? So it's kind of the cornerstone for our entire data strategy. Without going into the details, I just want to share about one very interesting outcome. I think we are all very familiar about return to work policies. Some companies ask you to come back 3 days a week, 2 days a week. We, with the trust and in data and insights that we have enabled, that we have empowered, we empowered decision makers in our organization to decide 90,000 people don't need to follow a fixed return to office policy, right? So that's the impact that trusted data can create. And it was also shared in our CEO's interview to Bloomberg. So it's there in the internet. You can go and take a look. Next slide. Okay, this is the interesting part of the entire session. This is going to be the most interesting thing, right? A lot of people might have heard about this, leading the last mile, right? What is leading the last mile? And it is really, really important because even if you have a good analytics program, a good analytics team, you have a good data strategy, this is a key differentiator between you being a good data team and you being a great data team. You got to lead the last mile. Anyone has seen the movie Top Gun Maverick? Anyone? Anyone? Any Tom Cruise fans? Oh, cool. See, there's a scene in this movie, right, where Cyclone, one of the instructors of the Top Gun pilots, he instructs them about a mission. It's a very, very difficult mission, right? You have to go in this particular speed. You have this 4 minutes time, and there are all these guns which is trying to shoot them down, but you still need to go and do the mission. And this is the, emotion that you see in people's faces. Look at the guy. He's just here because his boss asked him to come here. Otherwise, he don't want to be here, right? Look at the senior guy. He is like hopeless. This is the exact reactions that you get in the meeting room when you demonstrate your products. Exact reaction. You go back to your meetings next week, you will see same reactions in your meeting rooms. And that is because you just tell them what to do. You do not lead the last mile. But what happens after this scene? Tom Cruise flies into the trial path and demonstrates how it is done. That, my friends, is the last mile. You as a data professional have the responsibility to lead the last mile. Only then you will create impact. And you want to see what happens when you lead the last mile? Look at the reactions. Look at this guy. Yeah, that's the reaction. That's the fist pump you should expect from your end users when you rightly lead the last mile, right? So with that, I think we have come to the last mile of today's session. And if there are any other questions, we're happy to take. And if you guys are shy or you're just around, come and have a chat with us. And I have one last thing before I end the day. If you like what you have seen, if you like what you have heard from us, these are some of the other topics that we could share, right? So please reach out to Louis, and I'm sure in one of the next sessions, if you guys want, we'll come and share about some of the other stuff that we do, right? Thank you.
Ask one question. I think Currently, your product, right, is used in what type of major segments of industries?
So we are part of Standard Chartered Bank, and we work for the function that manages the physical real estate of the bank across 57 markets. So most of the products are informing our senior management in terms of cost decisions, experience decisions about the space that we manage. Like, you could relate to yourself as an employee working in an organization. How do we give you a good experience when you come to office? Decisions about that, insights about that, as well as if you bank with us, or if you are a banking customer, you walk into our branches, our ATMs, how do we give you a good experience in those physical spaces? So those are broadly, two things aside to how can we empower people to make the right decisions. So, nobody is forced to come to office 3 days a week.
So currently, you only service your bank clients, or?
No, we service the internal bank HQ stuff.
Okay.
So we're internal analytics team within the bank.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam and Shouvik. That was a very interesting conversation. I think, like Shouvik and Sam said, data governance and trust is very important for any organization, because if you can't trust the data, you can't do anything, right? So the next topic we have today is by Wenbin. He'll bring us through some design concepts, UX, UI, just to get you guys prepared for IMVIS, which is coming in October. We don't know what the theme is this year yet, but hopefully something interesting, but never too early to start planning. So if you have any great ideas or any design that you want to replicate, you can start to collate them and keep it while we're waiting for IMVIS. So I'll hand it over to Wenbin.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. And yeah, before that, let's give them, Shouvik and Sam, just give them a round of applause again. I mean, I think this idea is quite innovative. I do understand the idea of data concerns, data quality, but so this is a very interesting and novel solution. So yeah, looking forward to the dashboard, the template to be sent. Thank you. All right, now to the next segment, right? So yeah, we're going to be talking about, preparing for IMVIS, right? And I think, a few months back, I had the opportunity to sit in for another Tableau user group by Ryan Sores, who was this year's finalist for IMVIS. He was sharing his timeline, right? So for the IMVIS finals, they have about 7 weeks to prepare. And I think he mentioned something along the lines of, 3 to 4 weeks, so close to a month, right? Almost 50% of his time was spent doing research, doing the planning, laying out the groundwork, and doing the wireframing and iterating all over again. So it really emphasizes, regardless if it's IMVIS or if it's any data projects that we want to do, planning. That's really the crux of it all. Now, so, but planning aside, today I wanted to share also some of the interesting UI UX concepts that can maybe elevate your storytelling take it up a notch. Right. So but before I delve in this, so have you, just a show of hands, anyone has heard of this idea called the Zeigarnik effect? Zeigarnik effect, no one. Okay. So Zeigarnik effect is interesting. It's a UX concept that suggests that users, people like us, right, humans in general, we tend to remember things that or tasks that get interrupted. Right, so if you ever wonder, you at the end of the week, or if you're on Sunday when you're preparing for work, why you feel so sian is that Zeigarnik effect thing kicking in. It's like, oh, I got unfinished tasks and things like that. Why I'm talking about this is actually because of the key marks that you shared. The fact, so Zeigarnik effect in UX, right? One of the applications is a progress bar. Think like Duolingo. If you do Duolingo, right? You feel motivated because you want to complete a level, complete a certain round. So that's the implicitly, that's what is the psychology behind it. And I just thought, if you want your leading from the last mile, if you want your users to have better data quality, why not just have that key mark, right? If it's orange, if you see it's like maybe 70 out of 100%, you show it to your business leaders. Hey, maybe it's implicitly you're trying to tell them, you know, let's get this up to maybe 90%, 100% from orange to green. Yeah, so it's wasn't planning on sharing that, but it's a very interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to. It's a very interesting concept. One of the few laws that's actually mentioned in this book. And yeah, you can find this book online, Laws of UX. In here, there's about I think a total of 12 different laws or concepts that are talked about. Today, I'll just be sharing two. Okay, first one, it's called the Jacob's Law, right? And the idea of the Jacob's Law is very simple. Users spend most of their time on other sites, right? But they prefer your site to work the same as the other sites that they already know. So what I have here is some of the visits of the day in the past month, right? And so you have Lewis's viz on K-pop Demon Hunters. You have a KPI dashboard. You have another dashboard here that's showing key metrics, right? It's aesthetically, we can see that it's very pleasing. So now the question is, why is it very pleasing, or why is it easy to use? Well, if you compare, you know, these kind of like viz of the days, you know, you compare it to kind of like, I would say, yeah, in this case, Disney Plus or even Spotify playlists, you notice that they are very common key elements or key components. The layout is very similar. So as a user, you don't have to go through the troubles of figuring out how to use the dashboard. Things become very intuitive, right? There's not a lot of friction with using a product. So that's the idea of Jacob's Law in action, right? So I mean, these two elements, right? Whether it's a Disney Plus or whether it's a dashboard, you can break it down to you can break it down to simple parts. You have a side menu, a hamburger menu. You have the title at the top. Maybe you have two rows. One is your insights one, and then the other row for your charts and graphs. So that's the very simple idea of Jacob's Law. And this how this can help. Well, not only in IronVis, but in your day-to-day lives, you know, when you're designing dashboards, you know, you can think about, you can draw reference from some of these very popular sites and adopt their layouts into your work. All right, so that's Jacob's Law. Now the second one, aesthetic usability effect. It's a very interesting theory. It suggests that users often perceive aesthetically pleasing designs as the designs that are more usable. So what I have here is actually is a screenshot from the textbook, right? It's ATM, you know, your ATM pin, okay? So in the ATM pin, so they have different layouts, right? So this layout is, okay, so you have all your actions here, or like these are the numbers. So this is 1,000, this is 10,000, right, for example, right? And then you have, so this is one layout, you have many different layouts, right? But you notice that maybe as you slowly look through the four, you will naturally gravitate and towards one of the layouts, and I hope it's the top right. The top right one actually is what you see if you go to the ATM today, right? The numbers, and then maybe a different variation of it. In this case, the action buttons are at the lower part, but I think in like OCBC ATM, I think it's on the right hand side. But the idea stands the same, right? That, you know, we as users, every day we think that, you know, oh, this looks aesthetically pleasing. I think it's the best to use, the least friction to use, right? And I want to challenge that idea even further, because I feel that, you know, you're in aesthetic design. It is not only just about, you know, how easy it is to use. It is also defining your character as a bank or as an organization, as an educational institution, right? On this side, you know, on your left hand side, you have Grab, local Singapore application, right? You can see that, okay, very interesting, very even, very nicely spaced out tiles and things like that. But if you gravitate more to the right hand side, it's C-Trip, which is a Chinese travel application, right? And you know, there are a lot. Maybe some people feel that, okay, it's a lot more clutter. It's not that accessible friendly, right? So you might need to squint your eyes a bit more to see the logos. But aside from that, it actually kind of tells character or a culture, So if you're on Taobao or if you're on these Chinese applications, right, usually what the user prioritizes is really compacting all the different functions into one page, and that's why this is much preferred. But maybe as us Singaporeans, we really talk about accessibility, right? Not just us, maybe even seniors or even people who are younger who are using this application. So that's why we kind of give each segment a bit more space to breathe and to showcase it. All right, so yeah, the usability effect, or sorry, aesthetic usability effect. But it's not just only in app design, right? If you look at some of the best or some of the very popular data visualizations, sometimes it's really about the layout itself, the way that it's designed, the thought behind it that makes you say, hey, I really am very interested in this. I want to click on it, right? So this is one of the previous last year's IMVis entries. You can search it up online in Tableau Public. This is very well done. I feel it's a map of Kyoto, but you can intuitively tell it's about the cherry blossom season, the locations, the best spots in Kyoto to see cherry blossoms. So yeah, that's pretty much my presentation. It's about the the science behind how we think, how we perceive, right? And of course, I mean, what I'm sharing is, okay, disclaimer that I'm still very new to this field, but I just, the outcome is that, hope to inspire people to really see, the science or the intricacies behind design. If you want to explore more, there's actually this. So on the right-hand side is the UX design laws. It's a Tableau public dashboard, and you can, so if you go into scan the QR code, you'll be directed to Tableau public and you can see, different laws and how it plays out in dashboard design. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Before I move on to the next segment, do we have any questions that I can try to answer? Okay, no, and then, okay, so now next segment. Earlier, just now, we asked you guys to scan the QR code, right? Actually, before I begin, maybe if anyone hasn't scanned it yet, you guys can scan it right here, right? So it's a very fun game, right? So IMVis is coming up. We want to kind of want you guys to do this quick questionnaire, get a sensing of what kind of person you are. Disclaimer, this is not like backed by any science or anything. It's just a very fun project that Phyllis actually did. So yeah, everyone scan. Okay, yeah, sorry. I'll just give you guys a bit more time to scan it. But yeah, okay. So I'm just going to go through some of the results, right? So quite interesting, very interesting. So the first result, and this is me. I'm a jam biscuit, right? A jam biscuit is someone who is very interested in the aesthetics, right? Some tips for a jam biscuit is to actually store your personal color preferences or your color hex code into this TPS file, preferences.tps file in Tableau repository. And I think that way you can iterate it and use it in your designs. So yeah, it will show up as your custom color palette in Tableau desktop. So that's an interesting tip. But just a disclaimer, as a jam biscuit, you might like aesthetic things. But if you're going to post things onto Tableau public, not all fonts will be interpreted on Tableau public. So just a quick heads up. All right, the next person, Rainbow Bread. I love this as a kid last time. Rainbow Bread ice cream. Right, so Rainbow Bread ice cream, you are really like a community, right? You build visors for the community. You really like to engage the community in your work, right? So before submitting your IronVis this year, what we advise is to actually, send feedback. It can be through our WhatsApp group. We have a lot of Tableau enthusiasts in our WhatsApp group. send the viz, ask for feedback, and we'll happily, I hope, people will happily give you the feedback on how to improve the visualization. On top of that, right, besides sharing, asking for feedback, it is important to also understand your persona, understanding the reader. Why does your visualization affect them? And what can the reader or the viewer take away from your visualization? All right, now next one. I think this is Louis, right? Kopi, the explorer, right? So as an explorer, you are very curious, want to learn different concepts in Tableau, right? You take on many different hats, right? You can be like kopi si, kopi kosong. So you have many different tasks, take on many different hats. You like to learn and explore. Tip from us, in your Iron Viz, right, you don't have to submit just one data set. It's a visualization that can analyze multiple data sets combined together. So why not just give it a shot, right? You can also explore different chart types and elements. I think there's also Viz extensions in Tableau desktop now that you can explore. Yeah, so have a mix of traditional and non-traditional charts. Kueh lapis, the one of the last few. Kueh lapis, someone who really likes to optimize things fast, maybe even using Gen AI, vibe coding, that kind of thing, right? So good that you like to use, good that you like to use all these tools that or leverage AI to help you in your processes. One tip from us, make sure to come back to the storyline, because at the end of the day, visualization is all about storytelling. So telling a good story is important. All right, we're down to the last few. So next is the Kayatos, right? So as Kayatos, you like to explore something similar to Kopi, right? That you like to explore different kinds of visualizations, lollipop charts or unit charts. That being said, always come back to the story, right? Sometimes maybe a bar chart, the simple ones, can help to explain the story better, than the complex charts. Yeah, and then also one other point, make sure the insights don't require too much interactivity from the users, or it might cause a bit too much friction. All right, and we have our last one, tissue paper, right? Tissue paper is very practical. You go there, you chop the place, you chop the seat in the coffee shop. Very, very practical, right? So, but sometimes you might be a bit pressed for time, right? So some of our advice, there's a lot of templates that you can use in Tableau Public. Every day there's a viz of the day that you can see and to seek inspiration. So don't spam too many charts. Keep it simple, keep it clean, maintain that storyline, and hopefully you can win the Iron Viz, represent Singapore. Yeah, so that's all for our little segment. Yeah, next I'm going to pass the time on to Louis. So he'll be doing a live demo of geospatial analysis.
Thank you, Wenbin. So like the results show, hopefully you have kind of like a glimpse on what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And the tips that Wenbin has shared would help you to compensate some of the things that you might overlook based on like how your personality is like. Again, it's not based on science, it's just a bit of fun. 7 o'clock already.
8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock. Oh, it's 8, not 7. Yeah. Yeah, we used to struggle with this like the past few meetings. Okay, let me just shift. Okay, so hopefully we'll see more of you guys participate in IMVIS this year. It's a very interesting competition. It's not just about trying to win, but also accumulation of what you've learned throughout the entire year. Because as you go along your Tableau journey, you learn different things like map layers, like dynamic zone visibility, like different tips and tricks that you pick on along the way. And the IMVis competition is a good way to kind of accumulate everything that you learn in one final product, right? So hopefully we'll see more of you guys participate this year. So my topic today is on geospatial analysis. I know there's a lot of interest in doing something like this in Singapore. I think we usually typically
a bit louder.
Oh.
Not here.
Oh, so we typically only see this in like the global scale, mostly in like the US. You see like a lot of map-based visual. Let me see.
Power outage, power outage.
Outage.
That's all right.
Yeah, we see a lot of US-based geospatial analysis that's done. Like they'll have like hex visualization of like the different states in US, but seldom you see like in Asia context, right? Depending on your industry, I think for public sector is a bit more difficult and challenging because you guys have restrictions on what you can actually bring into your intranet, right? So I know public sector would not be able to access Mapbox, which is what Tableau is built on. So one of the things you can do is, before we go into that, there's three things that I want to go through today. The first one is giving you guys an alternative to Mapbox. And then I'll go through slightly a little bit on map layers and how you can actually use that to build different levels of granularity and also building that user experience. So let me just open up my Tableau. Okay. I should actually share my screen. Okay. All right. So you see here, I have a folder that I actually created. Let's see. Oops. Let's see. Can I just zoom right? Okay. So what I have here is a created hyper file, which is basically the data from open data. All right. So open data is open source by the government sector that has the what do you call it, the building plan, the URA building plan with all the different districts with the postal codes and the polygons of the different areas in Singapore. So what I did is that you first have to have that first master file, which I'll share with you guys after the meetup. And you can actually connect to that hyperfile within Tableau itself. Once you have that kind of main piece, you can build anything you want within Tableau itself, right? So you don't have to go and source for another file because there are different ways that you can slice and dice the areas in Singapore, and it changes every couple of years, especially when elections comes and everything. So what you want to have is a base file, and then you can do whatever you want within Tableau itself. So let me just open up Tableau. This is the one, I think. Okay, so this is a pre-created file that I have, but basically what I have here, if we take a look at the data source, right, it's just a region with the geospatial and the coordinates, so lat long, right? There are different granularities, right? So over here, if we go to here, I actually have 5 different files that I brought over from open data, and each of them have different granularities, right? So when we are working with map within Tableau itself, you need something like this, like an icon that shows the geospatial data type, right? So this is actually based off the lat and long, right? You can create a geospatial point within Tableau by using the calculation make point, which I'll go through later. But this is how it shows. So over here, I just have one map of Singapore, right? And for folks that don't have access to Mapbox, you'll probably not see something like this. You'll probably see something like, if we take away the map, let's see. Where is it? show offline. Yeah, you'll see something like this, where there's no boundaries of the areas and everything, right? So this file would give you the polygon shape for Singapore itself, right? So as I said earlier, you can have different granularities within different files, and you don't have to join them, you don't have to blend them, as long as it shares, the shared attribute will be your lat and long, your latitude and longitude. So over here, I have another file, which is region, that also has a map layer. So for map layers, right, within Tableau, you can simply drag, right, and you can actually add multiple map layers. And what this does is that it just stacks things on top of one another. You can change the order of things to say you want the, let's say if you are visualizing all the schools within Singapore, you want the schools to be behind like reservoirs of water or something, you can do that as well. I'll show you guys in a bit. But once I add a second one, you can see that now I have additional lines, but it's still treated as one. But the data set actually has an extra granularity that breaks into region. So if I put region now, I have four different areas that I can play around with. And then I can go on to build, I can't remember what DGP means in open data, but it's also one of the planning areas. So this one, I actually have an additional granularity on top of the regions, right? So I have the planning area as well. So if now I put this geo on top, you can see that it breaks down to even more areas. I can color based on the region, right? It kind of collates everything, and I can actually break down into further detail, right, with here, right? You can see that now I can access each of the different pieces. I can also color them if I want to, right? Then I have like different colors for different areas, right? And you can go on and on to build as many granularity as you want, right? But let's say that you don't want to use any of the planning areas that open data has. You want to create your own one. Like say, for example, you want to create a zone around a hospital or a zone around a school, and you want to build visualization around that zone. You can do so by, let me just remove the previous two, right? So over here I have one. You can right click on any area within the map itself, and you can annotate a point, right? So once you do that, you can actually go to insert, right? There's latitude and longitude over here, right? So you can do something like this just for reading purposes, right? And then you can do that long, add in. Okay, just make this slightly bigger so everyone can see it. Right, so you have one over here. Now you can drag this point. You can see this point. Let me just put the point a little bit bigger. Just format this one, make it nice, thicker a little bit, and just put a dot, right? So you can shift it easier. So you see now, if I shift this point, right, I shift this over here, the lat and long actually changes, right? So you can use this information to create your own classification within Tableau itself. So what I mean by that is, let's say I want to draw a square right around the middle of Singapore, right? So what I can do is that I can first, open up a notebook or something, a notepad, and then you put down the lat and long for all these coordinates. So you have 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here, right? So you have 4 different points that draws a square. Now I have another file, and you can create this very easy in Excel, right? Which is a way that we can densify data. And you are just using this as a way to plot different points, right? So this file, you can see that it's just path and then 1 to 100. You can go as many as you want, but basically the number of points here is just the number of marks that you can draw in Tableau, right? You can put 1,000,000 or 1 if you want to, but that's not the point. So if you bring it into Tableau, right, over here I have this file already, all right? It's just an Excel file, all right? If you edit the data source, you would see, it's just the path, which is over here, all right? The other ones are the one that I created. So if we go back here, and if you remember, we have that 4 different points that we drew just now. what you can do is actually create a case statement, all right? So what this does, it takes the path within the Excel file itself. So you have 1 to 100. You don't have to use all of them, all right? So what we want to do, draw a square, is that we need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need 5 points because you need that polygon to complete the square. Yeah, go back to the origin, right? So you can see that the point 1 and point 2 is actually the same, right? Because x coordinate is anything on the horizontal plane, right? So you have 1.3761, right? You have another one that is, sorry, on the x-axis. So it draws this way, right? So you have 1, and then 2, which is also still the same. And then you have 3 that goes to your right, right? Which is why you see 1.3449, right? And then you go up. This one I think I shifted a little bit, but this can be 49. And then you can go back to the first one, which is 1.3761, right? So this plots the 4 different points on the x-axis. And then you do the same thing for the y coordinates, which is your longitude, right? So you have, 103. So the first point and the last point is always the same, right? So now you have this 4 point. I can go ahead and remove this. I need to create a map point, right? So how you create a map point is that you need to use this function called makePoint, right? So once you have that, you can actually insert the x coordinates and the y coordinates. And once you do that, and you drag this over, you can see that now there's actually 4 points over here, right? But it doesn't draw a square yet, right? What you need to do is that you can change this to a polygon, right? And it disappears because you actually need to use path to tell Tableau what is the order you want to draw the polygon, right? Which is 1 to 5. So you can drag the path over to path. And then now you see that you have this little square right in the middle, right? You can repeat this as many times as you want, creating like different areas within Singapore itself, or you can just simply go with 1 point, right? You don't have to always use a polygon. You can actually, let's say I want to have all these 4 points as different areas of interest, right? So I don't use path, I can use a point, which is like a circle, right? And then I just also drag path into the detail. And then now I have 4 different distinct points. There's actually 5 because there's one that's overlapping the first point, right? But generally, this is how you actually create different areas or different points within Tableau itself. You can export this. Let's say if you click on the show data, you can export this by clicking on the download, and then you have the coordinates over here, all right? And you can combine this with multiple. So let's say you create one box, you create another box, create a third box, right? You export all of this out, and then you can combine it into a master file, and then just re-import into Tableau again. So this is meant as an alternative to Mapbox. Obviously, if you have access to Mapbox, this is a lot easier, but this is to circumvent all the challenges that people might have with Mapbox and do something within Tableau itself, right? Before we go on, any questions on this very unorthodox method? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So for example, I can show you. Yes. Yes. So what I mean by this, right, is that now you can actually download this as a CSV file, for example. And then if we go into that CSV file, right, you see the 5 points that we have, right? You can remove the rest because we didn't use that. And then you can just create a new column, like, location name or something. Yeah, a common attribute. So this could be like, center box or something. Right, and then you just rename this for these 4 attributes that you have. You can actually remove the path because you don't really need that anymore. And this one as well, right? You just need the X and Y coordinates, and then you can create that from, oh, actually you still need the path because this will tell Tableau which is the first point, second point, third point to draw the polygon, but you don't need this random point, but you need the X and Y. And then you recreate that make point within Tableau. Right? And you can repeat this as many times as you want when you want to create like different areas. Right? Cool. Any questions? Okay. So once you have that, or if you have additional data sets that have also the lat long or the postal code, you can also do import them. So like I said earlier, map layers doesn't require you to have all the data in the same join table. Like all of them can have different granularities, all of them can sit within different Excel files or different hyper files, as long as they have some form of geographic point, right? It can be lat long, it can be postal code, that works as well. So over here, I have a couple of data sources that I took from open data. I have one on the clinics within Singapore. I have one for childcare centers. I have one for the schools, sports facilities, and train station as well, right? So if I go back to, if I go to the data files, right, you can see that over here, I have all these different things. If I open up just one of it and just show you how it looks like, right? You have just the postal code, the name of the MRT code, MRT type. If I go back to the sports facilities, I have the same thing. I have the postal code, right? And then you have like the location and type. The same thing with, let's see, childcare as well. I think childcare probably has a little bit more information in there, I think. Yeah, I have a lot more. So you can see that all three of the files have different granularity and different data that is embedded within it, right? But as long as there is something that we can tag it to a geospace, which is the postal code here, you can import that. And then within Tableau itself, as you go into each of the different data sources, you can see that the postal code, right, just make sure that you tag this to a zip code, postcode for a geographic role for the data type. So once you have that, then you can do a lot of different things like, let me see, let me just remove this one. So let's say I want to visualize all the different clinics within Singapore, right? So if I go to the clinics data set, I have the postal code over here, right? I can drag this over, and then you can see that all of the clinics actually show up. You can actually build, so over here, right, what I've done is that, let's say I wanna group the clinics into the planning areas that we had earlier on, right? So let me just go back here. If I unhide this one, right, I have like all these different areas, right? And when I'm doing analysis, let's say I wanna have a function that, let's say I've clicked on, let's say Bukit Panjang, right, because I stay near there. I want to see just the clinics that's within this area. But currently, the planning area data set and the clinics data set are two different data sources. There's nothing that links both of them together, right? What you could do is that within here, you can actually, let's see, let me go back to this one. Let me just drag the clinics out. Postal code, right? Okay, if I zoom in a little bit, right, you can see all these different points. It might be a bit hard to see. Oh, okay, this works. Okay, what I can do now is that I can, let me see, change this to a lasso, right? I can lasso and select all of this, right? And group them, right? So if I edit the group, right, you can see that there has like all these different postal codes within, like all outside of this region. And then this is basically what I've selected for Bukit Panjang, right? I can go ahead and rename this to Bukit Panjang. And now I have a link between this data set and the original planning area data set. And you can use functions to test if the planning area is equals to the planning area in this data set. And that's how you can do filtering within different data sets. Right? You can also export this out and put it in a CSV, clean it a little bit more, put it back to Tableau. But this is how you actually would do it within Tableau itself, right? So now you see, I do one for Bukit Panjang. I can, let's say, do one for Woodlands as well. So I can do this. I can group, right? And then I have over here, you can see Bukit Panjang, others, and Woodlands. So I can rename this as Woodlands. Edit. Okay, so this one would be Woodlands. Right, and then you can set a parameter to check if each of them is equals to Woodlands. So for example, I have filter by planning area, right? You have all these different areas. Oh, it's all in capital, so I need to change that. So it's case sensitive, so you need to make sure that all of your values that you created is the same as what you have in the planning area. Let's see. In mind, I'll just do Bukit Panjang first. So now if I select Bukit Panjang, you see that there's nothing that's happening. All right, what I want to do is that I want to put this over here, right? And then I want to have a formula that checks if this group, this new group that I've created is equal to the filter planning area. If I select this, they can see that now it only shows the ones that we selected. If I select anything else, then it doesn't show anything. Yeah, you can see that it disappears, and you can do this for multiple ones. So this is how you actually work around the limitations that you have within Tableau in terms of Mapbox, right? But this is not the only thing that you can do with map layers. And geospatial analysis is one of that. You can do things like, let me just show you. This is a little bit more creative on the side, but you can do, actually, you know what? I can show you guys the K-pop Demon Hunters one, since a lot of you are familiar with K-pop Demon Hunters. Let's see.
In the meantime, right, so if anyone's curious about DGP, DGP means Development Guide Plan. So I mean, if you're, especially those working in public sector, if there's any people who are URA here, which I don't think there is, but yeah, if you want to analyze by Development Guide Plan, then yes, that's how you should download the DGP data. Yeah.
So map layers in Tableau is basically just a set of X and Y coordinates. So you can think of how you actually refactor the let and long, because the let and long goes from like -100 to about 100, both on the Y and X axis. So in order for you to use that as a normal chart type, right? So over here, right, you know, all these are normal charts that I did. And this one is actually done using map layers, right? So if you look at, if I go in a little bit, you can see that there's actually no limit on how many map layers you can actually create. And you can see that on the X and the Y axis is basically just the let and the long, right? If I just show the headers, right? The only thing you need to make sure that you kind of do with your data set is to normalize it within the range of the let and long maximum and minimum range, right? So usually what we do is we take the maximum value, the current value divided by the maximum value. So this will give you a value from 0 to 1, right? And that sits nicely in any map layer because you can, and once you have that, you can actually plot different points, right? So for example, here, what I'm doing is, this is the kind of like a bubble chart with sigmoid curves to go from one point to another. So what I'm trying to do is that I'm comparing the performance of the fictionless girl band Huntrix against popular real groups like BTS and Blackpink, if anyone is familiar with both those groups, right? They are the real life version or inspiration behind Huntrix and Saja Boys within the show. So you can see that, you know, the middle part is always Huntrix, and then all of this is actually BTS. This is actually Blackpink, and then this is BTS, and then this is the other boy band and girl band, right? So if I take a look at the map layers, right, I have a lot of things here, but all of this is actually trigonometry, right? You can actually create trigonometry to create, it's a lot of things, but this actually shows you how you can actually create different things within the map layers as long as you know where to plot your points, right? You don't have to understand how this works for now, but basically what you can think is this is at a point of 1 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. This is maybe about 0.5 on the x-axis and 0.85 on the y-axis, right? So as long as you understand how to put the different points, you can actually use make point to put all these different plots in the chart, and then you draw lines or whatever, which is how we've been doing in the previous example, where you can actually use annotate and get that specific point if you want to, or you can do it via calculations, right? Yep. This one.
Is it like
1 month. Yeah, this visualization took me quite a while because I've forgotten all my trigonometry from my O-level days, A-level days. So I had to relearn how to draw tangent curves and sine, cosine curves because that's how you actually draw curves within Tableau. Because if you think about it, points is basically from one point to another. How you draw curves is exponential growth that is uniform, right? There's a formula, there's a mathematical formula that goes behind it. But once you get that right, then everything just falls into place. But understanding how to change that curve to curve whatever, like how I want. So like, for example, here, right, you can see that it curves this way and then this way. It's called a Bezier curve or something. There are different types of curve based on like, you know, linear curve, bell curve, and so on and so forth. But yeah, all of it is mathematical formulas. And once you get a hang of it, you can actually put them in together. Now, a simpler example would be this one, right? So when you talk about curves, right, you can also plot things around in a circular manner. So over here, how you would actually create something like this on a circular manner is, I mean, if you use Tristan's Ladivas tool, you can actually do something like that, but I wanted to challenge myself. So what I did was that I need to create the angle, I need to create a radius, and then to plot it in a uniform way around the circle. So if you think about this, right, a circle is 360 degrees, right? So over here, I'm just dividing 360 by the number of points that I have in my data set. And this gives me each of the points on the curve itself. And then I just plot it using the map layers, which is over here. Right, so this is just using, you know, if point 1 is basically the middle part, point 2 is actually here, right? So it just draws around it. So this is one example. The other example is this is something we call a sound wave chart, right? So it's basically a bar chart that is flipped on both sides. So so the center line is actually a 0 axis. This is usually used to showcase fluctuations in sound, music, and I think health industry probably use it for like ECG or something. But in order to do this in Tableau, it's very easy. You just need to divide your value into half and then just reverse the axis. So you have just 2 stacking dual axis. But with that, you can only have just one formatting, right? You only can draw one line. But you see here, I can actually draw additional points like diamonds. I can draw circles. I can draw an axis line, like a custom axis line just below the sound wave. And all of this is just manipulating how I put the X and Y axis, right? So if I look here, I have this axis, right? This axis is just saying that, I have the points that I want. This is actually the path. I just name it as point, right? So if it's 1, then it's 0. If not, then it's 1. And basically what this does is it just puts 2 points, one over here and one over here. And then you use the path to draw one line, right? So as long as you, like I said, as long as you know where you want to put your things, you can actually use map layers to add additional annotations or any additional formatting for your typical visualization. I would not recommend this for your day-to-day business dashboard because it takes a lot of effort to create something like that in terms of like annotating, creating flares like that. But especially when you're tackling something like IMVis, where your visualization is not going to change with any filters, and you want to add additional annotations, you want to add a little bit of flair that scales and descales or kind of changes with the size of your visualization, then you can explore map layers, right? When filters are in place, it usually would require you to think a little bit deeper on how the filters will change the underlying values in the calculation in terms of the aggregation. So if there's no filters, then by all means go with map layers, because you can actually create different things. So I can hide, like the axis line, fast grower and stuff like that. And you can also, the benefit of using map layers like this is that you can disable people from clicking on things that they're not supposed to click, right? Sometimes, like when you create a bar chart, right? You click on the bar chart and it just highlights that bar chart and then everything else gets kind of dim. You can actually disable that feature within like map layers. So for example, now I have all of these things that's happening, right? Let me just hide everything. But I don't want them to click on I don't want them to click on this, right? And kind of just highlight it and de-highlight everything. I can go over here. I can disable selection. Now, I can still do the lines. Let me just disable the line as well. Now you can see that the user can't actually click on any of it, right? So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to map layers, but it takes a while. I mean, this is just a introduction for you guys. If you guys are interested, I can do further workshops on map layers in the future, but this is just a teaser of what you can potentially do, right? One of my favorite visualization that I did for using map layers is also, anyone a big fan of Star Wars? That's good. So over here, this is actually the Star Wars blade, the lightsaber blades. And what I can do here is I can combine map layers with animations, all right? Just slowing down the animations to create something like, unsheathing and sheathing of the lightsaber, right? Over here, it's all split up into like different things, but you can actually do, I can show you the final product, which is,
I think for those who are with us, I think in February, the Valentine's Day one. So if you go on the Tableau public, besides Lewis's Star Wars, Phyllis also has a visualization that does something similar. You have
the Labubu.
the Labubu, right? So basically, have different accessories for the Labubu with animation, and that the underlying is also using latitude, longitude to kind of control or to kind of dictate where your accessories are going to be, and then using animations to drag them or to animate them to move from one place to another as well.
Right. So the Star Wars one, basically, I have two different actions. One for the carousel for the kyber crystals within the lightsaber, and then the other one to do the animation for the unsheathing and the sheathing of the lightsaber. So now if I click on, let's say, the white kyber crystal, it contracts and it retracts and then expands itself again. So you can click on like the different, and then the kyber crystal actually rotates from one point to another. So this is done entirely in map layers, and it shows you the flexibility of it. So similarly for Phyllis, she also has this, the Labubu one from February that she did, where it's the same structure, but you can click on like the different accessories and it just floats from left to right to dress up your Labubu. Right? So these are kind of some of the ways that you can use map layers, and hopefully this inspires you to try something, maybe for IronVis as well. Any questions before we wrap things up? Yep. Yes. Yeah. Map layers are also in web authoring. Yeah. But I think web authoring has, I don't know if there is some restrictions around the settings of it, because I know like some formatting settings you don't see on web authoring, but you see on Tableau desktop, right? Like things like your formatting of your parameters, your filters, or even like if you're creating a text table, the shading and the lines, you can't do it on web authoring, you have to do it on desktop. Right? So there are some nuances when it comes to that, but generally you can do a lot on web authoring. Yeah. Any questions? I know I probably stunned you guys with that presentation, right?
I think if not, let's give Louis a round of applause. Yeah, so this brings us to an end for today's talk session. So I think it's about time check, 8:38. So yeah, just nice. Everyone can just take the last train home. But before you do that, there's still a lot of food, a lot of pizza to be had. So if you guys you want a tapao bag or you haven't had a dinner, please help us clear that pizza as well. So yeah, we'll have one more session, one more talk at the end of the year, around November. So you can expect us to also, during that period of time, to consolidate what happened in IronVis as well. So yeah, we hope to see you guys then as well. Yeah, till then, take care. Take care and have a good night.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.